Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are cracking open an absolute metaphysical classic, Florence Scovel Shinn's 1925 masterpiece, The Game of Life and How to Play It. Now, instead of looking at this as just some dusty old philosophy book, what if we treated it as a literal rule book for reality? We're going to dive right in and see exactly how shifting your perspective on this could change, well, pretty much everything.
Right off the bat, let's challenge a really common paradigm. Most of us have been conditioned to believe that life is this harsh, exhausting struggle, right? Like it's a battle where you have to fight tooth and nail for every single inch of ground. But Shinn argues something radically different. She says life isn't a battle at all. It's actually a highly strategic game just waiting to be mastered. And, as you know, just like any game, you literally can't play it successfully if you don't actually know the rules.
So here is our roadmap for today. 1. Life is a game. 2. The three minds. 3. The power of words. 4. Karma and grace. 5. Overcoming fear with faith. And finally, 6. The divine design.
Part 1. Life is a game. Stop fighting, start playing. Part 2. The three minds. The arena.
So, to play literally any game, you've got to know where it's taking place. And according to Shinn, the primary arena is actually entirely internal. It's split into three really fascinating departments. First up is the subconscious. Shinn compares this to steam or electricity. It's just raw, undirected power. It doesn't judge, it just blindly executes whatever the conscious mind programs into it. Below that is the conscious mind, the mortal, limited mind. This is the part that looks at the physical world, sees limitations, fear, and negativity, and sadly, it usually ends up programming the subconscious with those exact anxieties. But here's the real game changer. The superconscious. This is the divine blueprint within you. It's the part of your mind that holds your perfect life design completely untouched by fear or limitation. Winning this game ultimately means bypassing that fearful conscious mind and using the superconscious to program your subconscious.
Part 3. The power of words. The rules.
Okay, in this game, your spoken words are not just passive observations. They are literal, active commands. And it turns out the subconscious mind has absolutely zero sense of humor. Shinn shares this crazy real-world example of a wealthy woman who used to get so tired of managing her massive home, and she'd casually joke, "Oh, I'm just sick of things. I wish I lived in a trunk." Well, her subconscious took that as a totally literal direct order. Years later, she actually found herself completely destitute, confined to a tiny, cramped space. She literally spoke herself into a trunk. Now contrast that with a young woman who constantly affirmed that she always effortlessly caught her bus. Her reality consistently mirrored that guaranteed success, while her father, who was always complaining about missing his bus, well, he always missed it. Your words are quite literally making the laws of your life.
Shinn drops this incredibly profound realization. She writes, "The imagination has been called the scissors of the mind, and it is ever cutting, day by day, the pictures man sees there. Those persistent mental images you hold, they are actively dictating your future." She shares this tragic but super powerful case of a woman who as a little girl loved to play widow. She would dress up in black clothes and a veil because, to a kid, it was fun and dramatic. But her subconscious diligently recorded that exact image. She grew up, married a man she deeply loved, but tragically he died shortly after, and she ended up spending years wearing black. She had unknowingly imprinted that exact tragedy onto her adult life, using the scissors of her childhood imagination. It really makes you pause and think about what pictures you're constantly cutting out in your own head.
Part 4. Karma and grace, scoring and penalties.
Every game has to have a scoring system, right? Here, it operates on a totally strict principle of cause and effect. The word karma literally translates from Sanskrit as comeback. It is the ultimate boomerang effect. And Shinn highlights just how incredibly neutral and insanely accurate this boomerang really is. She tells this great story about a woman who decided to mail a friend some fake stage money as a practical joke. She thought it was hilarious. But guess what? The universe does not differentiate between a joke and an intention. Shortly after, that same woman went to her bank and was handed a counterfeit $20 bill. She got her fake money right back. The scorekeeper is literally always watching. Although Shinn does note that we can escape this penalty box through something called grace, which is essentially using forgiveness to wipe the karmic slate totally clean.
Part 5. Overcoming fear with faith. The opponent. Now, you might think your biggest opponent in life is your boss, the economy, or just some bad circumstance. But Shinn is completely adamant about this. Our true enemy in this game is exclusively our own fear. She defines fear as inverted faith. Think about it. It takes the exact same creative mental energy required for faith, but it just points it in the absolute wrong direction. By viewing fear simply as misdirected energy, we start to realize that anxious anticipation actually acts as a magnet. If you obsess over avoiding a sickness or losing your job, you are practically demanding that your subconscious bring it right to your doorstep. Shinn talks about a woman who was absolutely terrified of walking under ladders. By obsessing over it, she was actively pulling that bad luck directly toward herself.
So how do we actually defeat this opponent? Shinn reveals this incredible sort of cheat code that she calls active faith. And let me be clear, it is not just sitting around wishing and hoping. It's a very specific 3-step action plan. First, you acknowledge the burden or the fear. Second, you surrender it entirely to the superconscious, that higher, perfect divine mind we talked about earlier. And third, you dig your ditches. Now, this references an old biblical story, but essentially it means you have to prepare for success before you even see the results. You have to take action in the physical world to prove to your subconscious that your faith is actually real. So what does digging your ditches actually look like in practice? The book gives us some amazing case studies. In one instance, a woman was down to her absolute last $8. Instead of panicking and desperately job hunting in New York, she followed this totally irrational, intuitive hunch to use her very last dollars to buy a train ticket home. By trusting that hunch, she immediately ran into an old family friend who gave her thousands of dollars. In another case, a woman was hunting for an apartment during a terrible housing crisis. She actually went out and bought brand new blankets for her future apartment before she even found it. She was proving to her subconscious that she believed it was a done deal, and sure enough, she got an apartment against impossible odds. Or take the woman who was facing a $3,000 lawsuit. Shinn told her to go to a fancy restaurant and act rich. She spent freely, she showed zero fear, and literally that exact same day, a long-lost cousin showed up on her doorstep and handed her exactly $3,000. Active faith literally prepares the ground for your victory.
Shinn actually used a really specific psychological trigger to stop the limited conscious mind from spinning out into worry. She would say, "I cast this burden on the Christ within, and I go free." This was her actionable tool to officially hand any overwhelming problem right over to the unlimited power of the superconscious. It's fascinating how using just a simple, firm phrase can completely break the cycle of anxiety and let you reclaim your focus in the game.
Part 6. The Divine Design, the Ultimate Prize.
So what do you actually get when you master the game? Winning isn't just about manifesting a giant pile of cash. Shinn teaches that true victory is achieving what she calls the square of life. It's a perfect 4-part harmony drawn straight from Plato's concept of a perfect pattern. You need health, wealth, love, and perfect self-expression, which essentially means doing the exact work you are uniquely meant to do in this world. Think about it. If you only have wealth but your health is totally failing, the square is broken. The superconscious has the exact blueprint for you to have all 4 of those corners perfectly balanced.
And that brings us to the end of the board. Now that you actually understand the rules, that your words are literal, active commands, and your fears are nothing more than inverted faith, it leaves us with a pretty provocative question. If your imagination is constantly cutting the pictures of your future day by day, what exactly are you picturing right now? Are you going to keep taking those passive hits from life, or are you finally ready to step up and play the game?